So today we got 4 bathrooms and a couple closets we're going to be putting vinyl in. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to do a little video on installing vinyl in a bathroom. So as you can see what we got here, the concrete's fairly smooth. We'll do a little bit more scraping on that. We're going to pull the baseboards off and stuff and install that back on top of the vinyl. And first thing we need to do is pull these doors down, this bifold and this regular door here, Trevor. So what I got here is just a little pin puller. It's actually supposed to have another little pin thing right there, and what that's for, you tap it up in the bottom, but it's missing on mine. I lost it some time back, so I just take the corner of this and put it right there, get my pin started, and then that thing just hooks right around the pin and pulls it right out, if you can see that right there. And then I just tap up on it. These bifolds, a lot of people have issues with these. One of these days I'm going to do a video on these, but they're actually this wheel, which is right here, that keeps this in the track, and then this little thing right here, the little rod that goes up in that piece, are on springs, so you can actually pick up on them and it'll mash together. Hold that right there while I pick up on this. You can see it actually go up. See that? Now that's enough where I can release the bottom, because the bottom little dial like this right here, see how these are on springs, so that gives you enough room to pick up on them. But the bottom one is not, and it sets in this little hole right here, so you can't pull down, you got to pick up. So now that we got our doors pulled and stuff, the next step is to go ahead and take the base off. What I did there, I just took my razor knife and I'm cutting the paint and the caulking right at the top of the base. What this does, it frees it up. If I was to pull the base off without cutting the paint and caulking, whenever I pull the base off, it would just pull the paint right up the wall and I'd be having to repaint it. So long as I stay right on top of the base, whenever I caulk my base back, the caulking will cover the little crack there where my knife goes. Got just a little 5-in-1 tool here. I like to prise it away just a little bit, enough where I can get my sumo lifter in there without damaging anything. And I like to push off of the wall until I get it completely loose. This base is going to be going back on some brand new flooring. So if I go underneath here and dent the bottom of the base up, it's just going to look ugly on the brand new flooring. So if I dent the top right here where I start my sumo lifter or the 5-in-1, either one, whenever I run my bead of caulking back there, it's going to take care of any imperfections whenever I run my caulking. So I would much rather, if there's any damage, I would much rather it be right here on the top that'll get covered with caulking, rather than on the floor where it's going to be nice and clean on top of the new floor. So that's how we pull the base off. Anytime you're pulling off any kind of trim, whether it be baseboard, quarter round, or anything that's going to go back, I always want to make sure you number it. That way at the end of the day, whenever you're reinstalling and stuff, you're not trying to fit it together like a puzzle. So as you pull it off, just write your number on it and remember where you started. That'll be number 1, 2, and number 3, and we'll just work our way right back around the room whenever we install it back. Instead of setting these in the other room with the nails in them, which is a hazard for people stepping on them and stuff like that, I got a little pair of tile snips. I just take and we'll pinch the nails like that right there. And if you just roll it, see how this is rounded? Whenever you just roll it, it's going to just pull the nails right out. So you can use channel locks, pliers, or anything that you want to use from that. And I always want to pull them out the back rather than tapping them through and coming out the front, because these are countersunk. And what happens if you try to tap them through and stuff like that, you're going to knock paint and whatever kind of filler they got in there out, and then you're going to have to take care of that hole plus the holes that you put whenever you nail them back on. So always pull them out the back, and it leaves the front looking pretty. Okay, so we got all of our base and base pulled and numbered, and the nails pulled out of the base and the walls. Want to make sure we go around the walls and make sure we get all of them out as well. That way when you're putting your vinyl back, it's just not hindering you from getting it up nice and tight here. So the next step we want to do is go ahead and cut all of our door jambs. We want to tuck our vinyl underneath the door jambs instead of trying to cut tight to them. It's just going to look better. We won't have no caulking or nothing like that. So everything will just be better if we can tuck it under. So I got just a, I don't even know what your proper name for these little cutters are, but anyway, this is what I use to cut my door jambs. And since it is a vinyl, we don't have to come up very high. We only want enough room for the vinyl to go underneath, okay? So I'm just going to set it on the floor and just give it a slight angle right there. That way maybe raise it up just a little bit rather than holding it flat, because the vinyl is going to be a little bit thicker than this blade. So I'll just raise it up just a little bit and make my cut. So if you'll notice, after I made my cut, I went back and come back and done that. What that did is just cut up paint and stuff like that. You can see where it's kind of built up around the edge right here, and my blade actually went over that stuff. So after I made my cut, I just kind of done that and got the paint all out from under it and stuff like that. So, and I had it raised up like that, but once I started, I kind of raised it up and leveled it out once it got a start. That way I could cut a straight line in there. I didn't leave it at an angle. If I left it up at an angle like this right here, it would have went up naturally. So as soon as your blade gets in there set, then level your saw out and go in like that, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and do these other 3 door jambs like that, and then we'll come back with the next step. We got our door jambs and stuff cut now. So what I'm going to do next, I'm just going to do a rough sweep. I'm not going to get it super good or anything yet. This is just to get all the garbage out so I can see what I need to scrape. I'm going to rub my hand over it and stuff and fill anything that I feel I want to scrape up. So right now we're just going to sweep it up real quick and get it ready for the scraping. Okay. So we got everything cleaned up and stuff now. It's fairly clean. I can feel anything that's on the floor I know is not garbage now. So anything I feel I want to take and scrape up, I especially want to go around the edges here where they painted and get, did you see that right there? Look real close right here. See, this feels fairly smooth, but if you'll see that, see, all that stuff needs to come off, because on vinyl you can't be too careful. It's a pretty thin product, and anything on the floor is going to show up, especially if you're using a shiny vinyl. You need to be super careful. Your floor needs to be absolutely flawless whenever you put it down. If it's a shiny high gloss coating on top of it, because the shinier it is, the more stuff that you're going to notice. Today we're using a satin finish vinyl, so it's not too bad, but still it's a pretty thin product, and we want to make sure that you don't see anything under it. So what I want to do is I'm going to fill around and pretty much go over the whole entire floor with this little hand scraper, and just to make sure everything is best I can get it. I don't see any holes. Actually, right here's a hole. We're going to have to fill this with floor patch and stuff, and we want to get the floor as good as we possibly can, and then we will sweep it, vacuum it around the edges, and be ready for the install after that. But this is very important. the prep on a job is, the floor prep on a vinyl job is the most important part of the whole job. If you leave stuff on the floor or anything like that, you're definitely going to have issues, and it's just going to look horrible. If you just stood up and used a stand-up scraper that's adjusted out, and even if it's a razor scraper, and you go over the whole entire floor, if you don't feel that, if you don't rub your hand over the floor and get anything that you can feel, you're still going to have issues, and stuff is still going to show up. So I can't stress enough how important the floor prep is when it comes to vinyl. That is absolutely the most important part of it. If you leave little bitty anythings, I mean, something this small, if you can see that right there, that's just a little bitty piece of paper. Something that small underneath a vinyl will be magnified underneath a vinyl, and it will actually look like it's probably the size of a BB underneath there. So any little bitty thing is going to be amplified underneath a sheet vinyl. So you definitely need, this is extremely important to get this good, okay? I just can't stress that enough. So we got everything cleaned up, scraped and everything. Now I got just a few holes right here. Is a hole, come real close, I guess a nail hole or something, and there's just a small hump of something right there. So what I want to do is take some floor patch I've got mixed up here. It's this is actually what it is, using 886. So what I want to do, I'll just get me a little glob here and put on that nail hole, and I'm going to get a glob and put right there where that's humped up. I got a smooth trowel. You can see it's been used a lot. It's got a little wave in the sides, you can see there, and you can see here. That's whenever they work the best, in my opinion. I don't like a brand new trowel because it has that flat edge. If you see right there, that's tapered down. It's been used a whole lot. And see this? It's all rounded over and stuff. That's when they work good. If you ask me, I don't like a new trowel. I just don't like the way they scrape over the floor and stuff. This goes real smooth over the floor because it is rounded and stuff. So what I'm doing there, I didn't just scrape hard down like that. See the difference in that and that? See, I scraped almost every bit of it out. That's not going to work, okay? Because you're just going to have to come back and fill your hole again. So actually what I want to do, I'm actually doing this about like a person would do sheetrock mud, I guess, is just leave a fine layer of it right over the hole. And the edges is not going to be up enough to where you can even tell anything. So it's all smooth now, and yet I've got a little bit of depth. So I'll just let that dry. So our floor patch is just about dry. I want to come in here and fill of it now and make sure everything is good before we get ready to do our final cleanup. And if you'll come real close right here, you can see there's just a little lip right there, and right here where the edge of the trowel scraped, there's just a little bit of extra stuff there. So I am going to take my scraper and go over this because we want it just as smooth as possible, as smooth as we can possibly get it. So I don't want to dig down too deep. I just want to knock that edge off is all I want to do. So I'm going to take my time with it so I don't have to prep anymore. If I dig down in there, I'm going to have to run some more mud, and I don't want to do that. So yeah, you can see the original hole that I went to get is there. It's still just a tad wet right there where it was real deep in that hole. So that's going to be okay though for the time right now. Okay, so if you see the white right there where I took that lip off, that's actually it's where I shaved the lip off. Now it's nice and smooth, and it feels pretty good everywhere else. I want to do my final cleanup now. I'm going to sweep it one more time, go around the edges, and then sweep the center of it with a push broom, and then I'll go around the edges with a vacuum You might say, Ruben, is that all really necessary to be so specific on that? And I'll look at you and I'll say, does the snake crap blow to the ground? Absolutely it's necessary. Again, if you have anything underneath this vinyl floor, it's going to show up. So prep is everything when it comes to vinyl. So we're going to get it cleaned up and stuff like that, and then we'll measure it, bring it in here, and install it. So we'll go from there. So we now have our vinyl floor all ready to go. We got everything prepped out and swept and all cleaned up, ready for some vinyl. So we're going to make our cuts and go ahead and bring the vinyl in and install. But the first thing is first, before we step foot in that clean room, we want to look down at ourselves and dust everything off. Make sure we don't have any debris from crawling around on the floor that's going to come in there and fall down and then get under the vinyl. We want to make sure our knees and the tops of our shoes are clean. So what I'll do is I'll just tap it off like that and then step in. Okay, I have a 6 by 12 to do this in a couple little closets. So first off, I know that this is like 5 foot, so the width is going to be cool. I will probably just leave this at a 6 foot. I might cut it down just a little bit, maybe to 5'6", just to make it a little easier, but we'll go 5'6" with that. And if you'll come and look right in here, I'm going to go all the way to the back of the closet there, and we got 7'1". So I'm probably going to allow about 3 or 4 inches. So I'm just going to cut it about 7'6". That way I got plenty, and it's not, and I don't have to worry about it being close to nothing. You don't never want to cut your goods down to the exact measurement, because then you got to be so precise over here, and if the wall veers off just a little bit on the other end, then you're going to be short. So always allow yourself at least 3 inches on each cut that you make. That being vinyl, carpet, or any kind of sheet goods. Okay, so I got my vinyl laid out over here. We're going to come over here and get everything cut down. So now what I want to do, just to make sure that nothing is on the back of the vinyl and it's going to get carried in there, I'm going to give it just a little drag right here, and if there is anything stuck, it's going to rake it off right there. Okay, so keep in mind, this is my factory edge in my left hand. I still have my factory edge in my left hand. So what I want to do, this is the longest wall because it runs all the way into the closet. So I have a factory edge over here. I'm going to line that wall, meaning I'm going to get it. I'm going to get this nice and straight with this wall right here. That's going to be my reference point. Okay, because that's curling up over the commode bolts and kind of throwing a little angle there. I'm going to pick that up just so it's not going over those bolts. And if you'll look right here, I've got this vinyl straight up now. I'm going to just touch the wall with it. When it touches the wall, I know it's good. And I'm going to come over here and do the exact same thing, which it looks like it's good there because it's touching. Okay, so now I got enough. I allowed 5 inches, so I got just a couple inches there. So now I know I have plenty for my closet. So I'm not going to completely cut this down until I get it glued. I am going to rough cut it down and just get everything laying nice and flat. Always have you a sharp blade, whether you be doing carpet vinyl or anything. A lot of people will use a hook bill or other vinyl knives. Well, I prefer to use my carpet knife for any flooring I do. I never use a utility knife. I never use a hook bill, any of those. I use my razor knife for everything. Okay, so first thing is getting this cut down so this section will lay flat. You don't want to overshoot it. You want to go just a little bit at a time there. Make sure that you don't overshoot it and go too far. Okay, now that I'm at my edge here and I'm at my edge here, I'm just going to follow that pipe right on around the toilet flange with my knife. Okay, just in case you get a little scared when you get a little far away or anything like that. The front and back you have a little bit of play with because the toilet goes back here naturally and it comes way out here. The sides are usually pretty close, so you want to be extra careful on the sides because the side of your commode, these bolts come up about this far from the edge of your commode, okay? So your commode is only going to set about this far. So be extra careful on the sides not to cut too far away on the sides. Not so particular with the front and back, like I said, okay? So now we got this cut down and it's laying on nice and flat. And what I want to do now, I'm coming, if you'll notice, I'm going to pull this out and get it right here to this point right here, okay? Right to this hump right here. And I'm going to just take my knife and almost to it. I'm not going to go all the way down to it because I don't want it to be short, but I'm going to come right to that point and straight up. Now I'm going to hold that up because I don't want it to rip, and that'll take the tension off by cutting the back of that, okay? Now I can cut this excess down to a certain extent. Bends the drywall is raised up. I am going to go ahead and cut this part down. The closet and stuff like that, I might cut down on the edges too, but the door jambs, where it's got to be real precise, I'm not going to cut down until it's glued. That way, just in case it does move a little bit, I'm still going to be okay. So, a lot of people will take their handle to a different kind of carpet knife or a stair tool or something and crease the vinyl in the crevice here, like that. You don't necessarily have to do that. What you want to do is take your carpet knife, okay, and just stick it at about a 45-degree angle right in the corner of your wall and floor, and do that. Now watch the difference in that cut. Now I'm going to lay it flatter, and watch, whenever it goes flatter, it's going to get longer. You see that? And then if I go too much up this way, it's going to get shorter. So let's look at what we got right there, and I'll show you the differences. See how it's starting to get short here? And it was long there when I laid it flat. When I took it too straight up, it was getting short. But when I held it at a 45-degree angle, you see that? That's perfect right there. So that's the angle that you want to hold your knife at, is just about a 45-degree angle. If you have a hard time judging that, just kind of this distance between your wall and your blade and the distance between your floor and your blade, okay? That's going to be what you want to do right there. And if you push that in, so long as you don't leave, hang on, I'll show you. Get underneath that thing there. Okay. Okay. Right here on this wall, so long as you don't let this just be way out here like that, it needs to be pushed in like this, just right dead in the corner there. If you got it way out and you go to cutting, you're going to be way short out here in the floor, okay? So do push that in there with your fingers. It ain't got to be creased or nothing like that, so long as you hold your knife at a 45-degree angle, okay? If you'll notice how I just flipped that around to get right there in the corner because my knife would hit like that, so I just flipped it around and went right there. Okay, I'll go back over there for a second. So now, getting the closet cut to put in there, I'm going to again go to this furthest little curve right here. I don't want to go way around here yet because it's going to be short if I do. I want to go just to right there. And you always want to be careful not to just cut straight right here, because you see there, this goes back further. So I want to make sure I come over here and allow enough to where when it falls in, it's not going to be short, okay? I don't have to do any cutting over here yet because this is right against the wall. So I just want to, when I picked up there, I just bumped it with my knee to take the center in first. You always want the center of your piece to fold in first, okay? So before this gets too much pressure on it, I stopped my vinyl at an angle right here. But if I wrapped it around there, this is going to pull and it's going to rip right there. So I kept my vinyl at an angle right there. And now this is the furthest point right here. So I want to come straight out and over. I don't want to just come like that because I'm going to cut this off, that point right there. So coming from this point, I'm going to come out and then around. That way I still got plenty right there, okay? And I'm just going to work this on around. Okay, now, so I can get it around there, I need to go ahead and make my cut right here, right on the other side of that piece. And again, I want to come this way. I don't want to go that way or even straight, because I want to leave some vinyl to tuck underneath of this little thing, because I cut it on the bottom when I did my door jambs. So see how I got a little V right there? That'll leave me some to go in there. Now I'm going to my next point, which is right here, and I'll come back, allowing myself plenty now, and I'm just going to work it right on around the door jamb, hitting all the feathers points with my knife. Okay, so again, I got another spot right here. If you see this feathers point right here, I'm going to go the same thing, allow myself come back and over, and just leave it up on the door casing. There is what I want to do, okay? And just, again, I'm working it right around. If you'll hit all those high points like I just showed you, you should be able to get it folded completely around without having any tension points, okay? See, this has just got very little tension on it, not near enough to rip it. It's almost completely flat on the floor, as a matter of fact. Right there is just raised up a little. All this is flat on the floor. So that's what you want whenever you're going around something like that. Okay, I'm going to come to the other side. I'm actually going to do this a little different. Since it was so close, I don't have to wrap it around. I was able to just fold it all the way in here. Now with this, I can just come here to this point and coming up, and then I want to go to this point and straight back like so, okay? And then I'll go to this point. Since I'm not having to wrap it, I don't have to hit every single one of them, okay, because it's already freed up. See, now I can just cut all this. I don't have to go to point. I can skip that one and just make all that cut in one time there. This is the same way. I'm actually just going to come something under there. No wonder that didn't get sucked out with the vacuum. Okay, so I'm just going to come from this point this time. Means I'm not having to wrap it, okay? That's going to be just fine. Now the extra stuff, you can just trim down a little bit if you want to. You don't have to, but okay. Now that I got all this folded in here and stuff, I can go ahead and cut my walls down. I don't know if you noticed that. Okay, so my corner is like that right there. What I did, I just went like this, and whatever wall I want to start on, I want to get the corner folded down for that particular one, okay? So I want to come and just fold this right into the corner there, okay? And then I'll just cut this wall first. Again, I'm holding my knife at a 45-degree angle. Then when you pick up, you can actually watch your line right there, your grout line and the vinyl, and just kind of keep your line straight with that, okay? And the same thing on this end. Okay. Now if you'll look right around the corner right here, now that I got all the bulk cut down, I can just go straight down behind the side of that door jamb right there. That'll let that fall down there, and I can cut this off. Okay. Same thing on this back wall, just at a 45-degree angle. Okay. Now over here, I want to do the same thing. I want to get all this halfway flat before I go to gluing, okay? I'm going to go ahead and make me a release cut right here, and this is going to take pressure off so I can push that down in there, okay? Same thing right here. I'm going to come from this corner around, okay? Because I want to be able to tuck it underneath the door jamb. Always think about your cuts before you make them if you're not used to doing this. That way you don't accidentally make a next cut. Make a wrong cut. Always anticipate your next cut and how this is going to fold around whenever you make your cut, okay? So again, 45-degree angle with my knife. Since this is good, I can take that straight down the back of the door jamb, stick my blade in there and cut that off. Okay, so this is good enough to go ahead and glue. This is a pressure sensitive glue that we're using because it's fiberglass vinyl. So I only want to fold it back and do half at a time. I don't want to take the whole piece out and disturb it and try to fit it all back in place. That would just be a bad idea. So since this is all in here, wrapped around and everything, I don't even want to fold this out first because this is just laying flat. There's not a whole lot to hold the vinyl still. So since this is cut and wrapped around in there, it's going to pretty much hold the vinyl in place unless I just get really rough on it. So I'm going to fold this half back first, this direction. And again, I'm going to try, watch right here. I'm going to try not to make this bind up, catch on the walls or anything that would shift the vinyl out of proportion, because right now I got everything right where I want it. So I pulled this up first to free it up from catching on the wall there, and I'm pulling back this first too. I don't want to do that or else it's going to snag on the wall. Okay, so as I'm standing on it, I'm just going to let that lay nice and flat. Just like that. That'll be good enough. I'll glue that one side right there. This glue has to dry up. It's a pressure sensitive glue, and I use this. I get this just for your run-of-the-mill vinyl that they make now. It's a pressure sensitive glue, and I actually get this at Lowe's for about 30 bucks a gallon. It is kind of pricey, but this is not too bad of a glue for just picking up remnant vinyls from carpet stores and stuff like that, where it's not special order and you don't have to order the glue with it. I will use that Lowe's brand right there. If I just left a line or a bump of glue, something like this, or even like this right here, see that right there? If I leave that, that's going to dry rubbery and it's going to be a hump underneath the vinyl. So you need to have your vinyl all smoothed out, your glue all smoothed out like that right there, okay? You don't want to leave any extra buildup. Okay. Now that we got the glue spread, so the glue is drying up. We got just a little bit of white over there in the corner, which is okay because it's going to be back there. It's not going to have any issues anyway because it's behind the commode. As far as folding it over, just like I said a while ago with putting the vinyl in the little closet, I always want to let your center go first. Wherever it was sitting like this part right here is going to try to be a little hump whenever you lay it over. You don't want that to be there, okay? That's going to throw everything off. So to start out with, you want to take your foot right there in the center and just kind of push that. Once you get past that hump point, then you can just let the go with the center and let the rest of it go on down there nicely, okay? You don't want to walk on it. You want to try to prevent walking on it as much as possible until you get it rolled into glue, okay? Just say there was a little hump right here in the floor and then I stepped over here. Well, that's going to trap this hump right here because it's going to have glue all around it. And it's not going to come out. What will happen when you run over it, it's actually going to kink. It's actually going to crease the vinyl, and you're going to have to fold it back up out of the glue and then do it, okay? So don't walk on it no more than you have to where it's glued, okay? So I'm not mashing it in the glue right there. I'm just getting it down underneath the sheetrock there. So what I was just talking about with having a hump or something, you don't never want to, rolling vinyl is actually more important than people think too. So okay, so I'm going right here. This is about where it was glued at. I'm only going to go about half a roller width at a time there because I don't want to take a chance on coming over here too far. And again, not having a rolled spot right here will cause problems because you're going to have a bubble trap in the glue. So it's better just to be safe and only go about half a roller width at a time as you roll, okay? And go back and forth. Don't go this way and then go that way. You're just going to trap a bubble in the floor, okay? So always go the same direction when you're rolling. And just gradually work your way across the room in the same direction, okay? Okay, now where I cannot get my roller in behind there, I'm just going to take my hands and mash that down in there real good, okay? Notice I pushed it that direction. That way it's acting just like the roller would act. And it's all going to be nice and flat, okay? Now that we got this rolled, I'm going to go ahead and fold my closet and stuff out. Now, since it's glued, I don't have to worry about this moving whatsoever, so I don't have to be too particular with it moving. I just don't want to snatch and rip one of these cuts. This stuff is pretty tough. The vinyl is pretty tough. Unless you give it a weak point like a slice or something, it would rip pretty easy at one of these points because there's already a cut there. But just on the side or something like that, it's pretty tough. So the only weak points are going to be where you've got cuts in it, okay? Once again, I'm folding my edges up so it don't snag on the wall. And then I'm just going to notice right here, I've got this all pulled back far enough here and over here to where it's not going to snatch on my door jambs as well, okay? And then once I get that, this is straight with that wall there, I should be able to just fold this right back to my glue. And there it is. That's as far as I've got glued right there. Okay, so now I got this folded back to the glue. If I did not have a straight line here, it would be stuck here and say I got crooked. Then I would have to pull it way back out of the glue because I'd have to get glue up underneath here where there is now where my glue line went crooked, okay? So keep this glue line as straight as possible on your first side. The second side is not going to matter so much because you're only folding back there, and it's going to have to be straight just because you're gluing up to the next one, okay? So I want to take my edge of my trowel and just kind of push it under there till it hits the glue and come out, okay? Now what I said a while ago about, if you'll notice that tip of my trowel right there, get real close. See the tip of my trowel is underneath the edge of that? I want to just hold it like that and rake down just like that. That's going to pull any glue out of underneath here. See that? Okay, now this is what I wanted to point out. See, even though I done that, I still got a little hump right there, a little gob of glue right there. What I said a while ago about if you leave any gobs, it's going to dry like rubber. So if you got a little gob of glue like that, you can take your vinyl and just kind of push down like that, and it flattens it. Now I don't have a gob there, I just got a smear, okay? So that's not going to hurt anything. So if you don't get all of it out of there, just take and mash your vinyl down like that, and it's going to smash that gob flat, okay? So we got the other side of this vinyl floor. The glue is dried and everything. It's ready to fold this other side back. So just as we did a while ago with the other side, when we pick up, we want to make sure that this right here don't leave a hump as we go that way. So I want to take, come over here and look under what I'm doing here. I want to take and where that is and just kind of push it that direction, okay? I'm pushing it that way. All right. Now that we got all that, I want to just let this go center first. Remember, I don't want to get on my vinyl until I roll it, okay? So I got that all in there. Now I'm going to take a second and roll that. This is a 75-pound roller. If you don't have one and you're installing if you're a DIY person and you want to do your bathroom or something, go to Home Depot and rent one of these. It is a necessity for vinyl, okay? Some people can say that you can wrap carpet on a board or just use your hands to push it out. I myself would not trust that. I would go and rent a roller just to be safe. Once again, because I couldn't get all the way up in there with the roller, I want to go hit what I couldn't get just with my hands, okay? Right up here, you can still see it's not stuck. I couldn't get my roller up there. So I am going to go ahead and just push that in with my hands. Okay, on the door jambs, I know my carpet is right there, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut this off like that. You can either do this, just push easy. You don't want to cut your door jamb right here. Did you notice that? See, that's not even barely cut through, okay? So if you're not comfortable and you're a DIY person with a razor knife and you can't cut like that without damaging the door jamb, I'll show you another way to do that. What I'm doing here, I'm just taking a screwdriver and just pushing that right under there. That gives it a nice finish. That was the purpose of me cutting the door jambs, so that we could do this. And that just gives it such a nice finished look there. Okay, so again, if you're a DIY person and you're not comfortable with using a razor knife, and you think that you might cut the door jamb, when you do that, you can always take and I'm going to just fold it back here. And just take my knife and just cut enough to go under there. You ain't got to get a whole lot, because you don't want to take a chance on hitting something under there. And I'm going to do the same thing right here. Okay. Now I can take my screwdriver again and just tuck it underneath there, okay? I'm pushing. Notice what I'm doing there. I'm not pushing in. I don't want to do that and poke a hole in it and it show on the outside of the door jamb. So I'm pushing down and just letting it tuck under there, okay? You don't want to go pushing in like that. You'll poke a hole in your vinyl and it'll be noticeable, okay? Again, if you do this, you just barely push. You only want to cut through the vinyl, okay? Don't want to mark the door jamb up. This is the way I normally do it if I'm just working. Okay, again, you can either take your screwdriver or a stair tool or anything that'll push that down in there without poking through, okay? You just don't want a sharp object that's going to poke through. Okay. Again, I'm just going to push down on the product and not into it so I don't poke through, okay? Now that it's under there, I just want to take some. This is a little bit wider, so it's faster, just to make sure it's all laying flat under there. And that should take care of it. So, okay. So we got her completely done now. We'll do an overview here. Actually, I still need to install my baseboards and stuff, but Benz, I am almost out of battery. I'm going to cut it short right here. This is it. We got it completely done. That's how you install a sheet of vinyl in your bathroom. Once again, if you want if you came to my channel and looking for help and you found it, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and show your appreciation. And if you live in southern Arizona, around the Tucson area, somewhere around Pima County, and you want the Southern Boys to install for you, go to Bobby Joe's Rug Works. They have 2 locations for your convenience, a nice family-owned business, and ask them for the Southern Boys.